welcome in to our CitrusTV studios. I'm your host for this week's edition of Beat the Bookie, Arnav Pokhrel. And not that anyone's counting, there are exactly 44 days from the time of this recording until Selection Sunday, which is, of course, college basketball's biggest day heading into the postseason. But 44 days out, let's take a look at how my good friend Griffin Marcy did in this show last week. And Griffin had himself a great week, $38 in profit, including cashing in on his lock of the week. He's a big fan of punts. That came out true. Biggest win was that Patriots moneyline parlay with Jarrett Stidham, as well as a Rams versus Seahawks over. Listen, Griffin got the job done last week. We're going to carry that on this week as we try and beat the bookie.
Jerry, you better yell! Show me the money! Show me the money!
We kick things off in Allen Fieldhouse, which sees the BYU Cougars travel to face Kansas in one of the toughest places to play in all of college basketball. But this matchup between two teams that are vying for that Big 12 regular season title isn't about the teams at all. It's about the two stars in this game, Darren Peterson for the Jayhawks, AJ Dibansa for the Cougars. They're in a race to become the #1 overall pick in the NBA draft, and this meeting is crucial come May 10th when we find out which team wins the NBA draft lottery. After a bad loss to West Virginia earlier this month, the Jayhawks have rattled off 4 straight victories, including a 21-point drubbing of Iowa State. Peterson missed Kansas's last game with an ankle injury, but head coach Bill Self expects the star to be back in full health for Saturday night's main event. On the other side, AJ Dibansa is coming off of his worst game as a BYU Cougar. Although he dropped 24 points, which is, just about his season average, Dibansa shot 6 for 24 from the floor and 1 for 8 from 3. The good thing for the Cougars, this Kansas defense is nowhere near as tough as Arizona's. Once a shot starts falling for AJ, expect good things to come for the Cougs. BYU and Dibansa just took undefeated Arizona to the brink. A 3-point loss kept it close after being down by 19. And with Darren Peterson returning from injury for Kansas, I'm giving the upper hand to the visitors. Give me $10 on BYU to cover 4.5 points. If I had more money, I would put Cougars money line purely because of all the unethical basketball that BYU plays. Let's head to Rocky Top, where the Auburn Tigers have a tough task at hand. But don't get me wrong, this Tennessee team, nothing like Volunteers of years past. To say Tennessee is inconsistent this year would be an understatement. Losing to Syracuse, who we all know have struggled this year, and Kentucky, but boasting wins against a top Houston team and a ranked Alabama side. I want to go to the last game for Tennessee, a 1-point victory in overtime against Georgia. Jacoby Gillespie, Bishop Boswell, a combined 10 for 28 from the floor. That has to change if the Volunteers want to win this one. Auburn's coming off a 14-point comeback victory against Texas. Keyshawn Hall poured in 31 in that game. The Tigers on 4 straight wins, but this Tennessee defense is tough to get around. Listen, I'm a sucker for a good story, and Auburn head coach Steve Pearl is returning to Knoxville for the first time since playing there from 2007 to 2011. I'll take 10 on Auburn to cover. This game has real overtime potential. We'll get into that in the parlay, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get an extra 5 minutes in Knoxville where Auburn can keep it close. After a Big 12 matchup, we keep things down south in the SEC. Kentucky, Arkansas, in the John Calipari Bowl. It's been a rough week for Kentucky head coach Mark Pope on the other sideline. Things were looking up for the Wildcats on a 5-game win streak, heading into a week with 2 ranked matchups and a chance for Kentucky to climb back in the AP poll. So with a huge opportunity to get back in the national conversation, what did Kentucky do? Oh, they put up their worst performance of the season in a 35-point loss to Vanderbilt. Classic. Arkansas, even better on defense than the Commodores, and expect the Razorbacks to be active from the jump. Kentucky is known for starting games slow and playing sloppy basketball, especially in the first half. Kentucky, 14 turnovers over Vanderbilt, down by 20 at halftime. Expect similar things from a physical Arkansas front court led by Trayvon Brazile. I don't like the transitive property, never liked it in math, I don't really like it in sports, but this one stands out for me. Arkansas beat Vanderbilt by 25, Kentucky lost to Vanderbilt by 25. With that, give me $10 on the Hogs to cover, and a big woo pig suey to my good friend Nick Lutrell. That's all my picks for the games of the week. Let's take a look at how the C-Suite picked today's games. And oh man, there's me senior year of high school with much longer hair down to my shoulders and Griff and Zach on the other side. Listen, they are fading me on 2 of my picks. They pick Kansas, they pick Kentucky. We both agree on Auburn to cover over Tennessee. We like that pick together, but hey, listen, it's time for me to get on the right track. We're 0-2. The hosts are over the C-suite. It's time for my best bets. And listen, we've talked about some good home venues in this show, but what about we talk about the fans? And that takes me to Phoenix, Arizona and Grand Canyon University. The student section at GCU is nicknamed the Havocs, and they've put on some clinics in Phoenix this year. Whether it's women's soccer, baseball, or back when GCU had a men's volleyball program, the Havocs live up to the name and create chaos. The Lopes took down a ranked Utah State team at home, and there was a 10 out of 10 court storm that followed. They also allegedly leaked the personal cell number of Aggies guard Mason Flaslev, but that's neither here nor there. We'll let them slide with that one. GCU lost a close game against Nevada, but were without one of their top scorers in Brian Miller Jr. last time out. Micaiah Williams has played himself into a starting role for the Lopers, but assuming Miller is good to go, Williams will drop back to the bench as a second option for the home side. I actually prefer Williams off the bench for the Lopes. It seems like he scores more points when he is the 6th man for GCU. There's not many exciting things about Boise State in this one, and in a city as raucous as Phoenix, give me 15 smackers on GCU to cover a 1.5-point spread. We keep things out west for a WCC Classic in Washington, and maybe one of the last times we'll see this matchup happen before Gonzaga moves to the Pac-12. St. Mary's and Gonzaga have played in some elite matchups as of late, and there is no better prove-it game for the Bulldogs than this matchup right here. If the Zags want to show they are truly a top 10 team and push for a 1 seed come March, they have to win big in this matchup. There are reinforcements coming for the Zags as well. Mark Few's side won 3 straight without leading scorers Braden Huff and Graham Ike, but expect Ike to be back for this one. His return helps out a Bulldogs team that already ranks in the top 10 in the country in rebound margin, turnover margin, and field goal percentage. But St. Mary's has one thing you just can't teach. That is true, efficient size. 2 7-foot-plus centers, 6'9" forward Paulius Maraskis. St. Mary's plays smart basketball and is the best free throw shooting team in the country. If the Gales get Gonzaga into foul trouble early, this matchup could have the writing on the wall in the first half. In a prove-it game with the home crowd cheering on the Bulldogs, I cannot look past a massive point spread. 11 points is a lot to ask of a Gonzaga team without Braden Huff. Give me $15 on the Gales to cover and keep it close. People forget about the rest of the WCC matchups, but this matchup always delivers out west. Back to the Big 12 with another team hitting its stride at the perfect time. Texas Tech pulled off a major upset against number 6 Houston the last time out and looked to keep things rolling against UCF. This matchup does give me some trap game vibes. UCF is 11-2 at home and has the 4th best rebounding margin in the Big 12. Tech trails behind in 6th place in that same statistic. With a home game against Kansas looming, it's important that Texas Tech does not overlook the Knights. With all that in mind, Texas Tech is my lock of the week because there are some incredible numbers that jump off the page with this Red Raiders team. For starters, Tech is shooting 52% from 3 in its last 2 games. For any team to hit that margin in any point of the season is astonishing, and Tech is doing it in one of, if not the toughest defensive conference in the country. Don't forget about the offense and reigning Big 12 Player of the Year, JT Toppin, who just dropped 31 against Houston as well. Texas Tech coach Grant McCausland has the team living by a toughest team wins mentality, and I expect that to be on full display come Saturday. Again, it's my lock of the week. I'll be taking 10 Washingtons on Texas Tech with a 3.5-point spread. Let's go now to my dog of the week, and I remind you, in the fall, my dog of the week was Old Dominion football, my biggest win of that show. Now we're in a different sport. The pick is a little less ambitious than that football pick. SMU comes in at plus 320. I love the value in SMU over Louisville. The Mustangs come in with a better strength of record than Louisville, and SMU guard Jason Pierre Jr. played like a man possessed in an 83-80 victory over Florida State. The Stangs also have Bookie Miller averaging just under 20 points a game. There isn't much to take me away from Louisville. Very solid team. Ryan Conwell has been great. Sonata Fruit cleans up the glass really well. It just doesn't inspire me as much as this SMU team does. Even though the game is being played in Louisville at the Yum Center, I see so much potential in this SMU side. Give me $10 on the Mustangs money line, and let this be the tip of the iceberg for SMU to make a run deep in the ACC tournament. We head to my future bet, and for that, we go to the women's game. UConn has been the most dominant team in women's basketball. There is no doubt about that. Sarah Strong is an absolute baller. AZ Flood can shoot the lights out. But come March, I think a different team is taking home the natty. Enter UCLA, who have a stacked roster and shine on defense. Led by Lauren Betts, who averages over 2 blocks a game, she is also one of the best passers I have ever seen in the NCAA as a center. Oh, and then on top of all that, she leads the team in points. Yeah, she's a star. UCLA is dominating teams with their size in the front court, and their intelligent guard play continues to push the team to new heights. 7 ranked wins on the season, a 30-point W over Maryland, a 22-point victory over my beloved Nebraska Cornhuskers have me believing in a Bruin squad in the Big Ten tournament and beyond. There is one issue for UCLA, that's dealing with athleticism. In the Bruins' one loss to Texas this season, guards Kiki Rice, Gabriela Jaquez, and Gianna Neepkins all struggled to deal with Rory Harmon and company. Harmon was running circles around UCLA in that game. Come playoff time, I expect UCLA to be much better in the front court. Listen, this is a UCLA team that is playing 3 of the next 4 games as ranked matchups. So if they fall in one of those 2 games, one of those 3 games, I might be losing value on this pick in the next couple of weeks. But it's this year or bust for head coach Corey Close and company. So give me the Bruins to hoist a trophy come tournament season. That's my future pick. We're going to take a look now at the future picks from the show and beyond, and the future picks for the show. We've got a couple still left in the show from last year, as well as some carryover. NC State winning the Natty. I don't think that's going to happen, if I'm being all too honest. How about Spurs to the finals from Drew Alba, and Griffin Marcy losing his future with the Rams-Pats Super Bowl matchup happening there. That's all for the future. Now let's head over to my parlay of the week. And listen, I couldn't stay seated for this parlay, so I'm here to explain all of my picks on this 3-leg that'll win you just about $69. We start with Duke at Virginia Tech. I've got the Blue Devils to cover. Cam Boozer is in the running as a top pick. We mentioned AJ Dibansa before as well. Duke has won their last 4 games by over 15 points. Next up, we've got Auburn and Tennessee. I mentioned this one earlier in the broadcast as well. Listen, I expect this game to go to overtime, so it's a no-brainer to pick the over in Auburn versus Tennessee. Finally, Arizona State. A rivalry matchup that in basketball really isn't too much of a rivalry. This Arizona defense is stellar, but expect the starters to get some rest in the second half. They play Oklahoma State next week, but then after that game, Arizona has 6 ranked opponents in the final 8 games of the season. It's a tough end of the year for the Wildcats, who are looking to stay undefeated. So I expect that game to go under. Both teams scoring 80 points just doesn't seem like it's feasible on my end. Listen, $10 on this parlay will win you $69.57, just under 70 bucks. That's the same odds as we had on the UCLA pick just a couple of moments ago in the future. I think this one's pretty feasible as well. So now let's take a look at all of my picks from the show. $10 on 3 separate covers for our games of the week. BYU plus 4.5, Auburn plus 6.5, and Arkansas minus 7.5. Then I put $15 out on the West Coast, where I expect St. Mary's to keep things close against a top Gonzaga side, plus 10.5 for the Gales. $10 on Texas Tech to go to the road and beat UCF by 4 points or more. And then my dog of the week, SMU plus 320 against number 20 Louisville. And out back west, we have GCU minus 1.5 against Boise State. I put $15 on that one. I mean, 1.5 points is basically a pick 'em at that point with better odds. So give me the Lopes at home. $10 on UCLA to come away as women's basketball national champions. And then the parlay, Duke to cover 10.5 points. Auburn, Tennessee over 148 points, and Arizona State under 164.5 points there. That's all my picks for this week's edition of Beat the Bookie. Thank all the production and the crew for working on this one. And hey, as always, 44 days until Selection Sunday. Bet responsibly until then and throughout March Madness. I hope you enjoyed as much as I do. That's all from the CitrusTV studios. We'll catch you next time on Beat the Bookie.